Hello and welcome to the Weekly Sip. Yeah, I did change the name. And to commemorate... Good stuff. I figured that for a weekly news show, SJ Weekly was kind of limiting in the topics that I wanted to cover. Don't worry, it'll still mostly be SJW nonsense, though. For those of you who watched yesterday's Dumping with Scrump, yes indeed, I am actually unemployed. I know you asked me about it in the comments, so I might as well... I can't tell the full story. I will one day, but I can't do it now. But I might as well tell you at least the surface level details. I didn't get fired. I quit. However, I quit because, one, the job was becoming untenable to stay at. Like, I couldn't stay there and continue to do this or anything else that I wanted to do in my life, and something had to go. And two, because there was a fair chance I was going to be getting fired soon anyway. So I decided to just bow out with some dignity left intact. So I hope you don't mind if I shill a little bit here at the start of the video. If you feel like supporting the channel in these trying times, I do have a Subscribestar, subscribestar.com/shortfatotaku. As soon as I get my first payment off of it, which will probably be at the beginning of March, then I'll probably just axe the Patreon entirely. Because Patreon is a shit company, as we all know. If you'd rather just give to me directly, though, and not deal with somebody skimming 5% off the top, there is, of course, paypal.me/shortfatotaku. The problem with that, though, is that it's harder to keep track of any kind of rewards tiers. That is one thing that the Patreon Subscribestar model does well, is that it organizes the rewards tiers for creators to be able to manage. I guess that's why Patreon's so stupid, because the one thing they bring to the marketplace, convenience, they're going back on. Additionally, if you have no money, but you do have Amazon Prime gives one free Twitch sub, which is normally $5 and $2.50 go to the creators, $2.50 go to Twitch, but you get one free one with Amazon Prime. So if you feel like tossing that my way, you can go to twitch.tv/gameboomers. It's fine if you don't actually watch the streams, although I'd love to see you there. But if you have a free Twitch sub from Amazon Prime that you're just not using, that's also a great way to support the channel. Because even though Game Boomers is a separate project, it still all goes towards supporting me. And that being said, I do have several alt channels, if you'd like to sub to those, because with enough subs, those can become monetized and therefore be alternative income streams. I've got SFO Backups, which is basically where I'm going to post videos that wouldn't cut it on this channel. For example, the Don Thacker expose video, it went up on SFO Backups. I've got the Game Boomers YouTube, which is basically just the stream archive for the Twitch Game Boomers channel. I upload the VODs in 1 hour chunks for anybody who happens to have missed the stream. The stream itself is significantly more popular than the actual VOD channel, but at least it's there for posterity. And that channel's almost at 1,000 subs, which is when YouTube will start taking it seriously and actually pushing it in the algorithm. So if that interests you, please go check it out. And the final channel I've started recently is called DevKit. And that channel is basically where I'm going to do all of my non-political work. So for example, the old anime reviews from like 2009, they're all up on DevKit, with a few exceptions because YouTube doesn't like the hentai ones. I've also put some channel vlogs up there. I've put some behind-the-scenes stuff like set tours and studio tours and stuff like that. And I think at some point I might do like game reviews or hardware reviews or goofy shit posting. Basically, the DevKit is going to be my shit posting channel, and also where I post like SFO channel updates and things like that, so they don't clog up this channel. This channel is going to be basically politics only going forward. I also plan to do the community streams on the DevKit channel once that channel is capable of streaming, so please consider subbing to it. And speaking of that, the community stream was supposed to be yesterday. And as it turns out, it wasn't yesterday, because my city suffered a terrible ice storm and the whole place lost power for about 4 hours. So I'm sorry about that, guys. I'll make it up to you at some point. The movie I wanted to watch was the Super Mario Brothers movie. And how that works is that we all pile into a Discord channel and we all shitpost and talk while we watch this terrible movie. It's usually pretty fun. We do it once a month. That is one of the perks of supporting the channel. So now that I need the support, please consider joining in. And I guess the last thing to ask is there actually that much demand for merch? Because a few people have said I should do some merch in order to get some alternative revenue, but I'm really not sure if I'm popular enough that people would buy like SFO mugs or t-shirts or something. I do have an SFO mug. It's pretty cool. I was considering selling this as merch, but there just wasn't enough interest back when I got this made. So if this is something that would actually interest you, please let me know. Sorry about the abundance of channel news this week, guys. Let's move on to the stupidity that happened this week. This time around, our dumbass of the week is Ron Perlman. Check this out. Sup, poll. Ron Perlman, 2/21/2019. I know, all caps, I know it is you bastards who keep making those memes of me. I don't know if you're all a bunch of Russians or what, but cut it out, it ain't funny. Your puppet president is going down soon. It's Mueller time, little stumplings. Imagine being Ron Perlman and not knowing how this fucking ends. Guys, war never changes. University suspends student UKIP member, 19, who sparked outrage by saying the NHS should not be free to immigrants, and complained about the Islamization of Britain during class discussions. Damn, this guy's got a spine. They do say that nowadays being a conservative on campus is the counterculture. Sebastian Walsh, 19, was suspended from his university. Social work student expressed controversial views on halal meat and Islam. The UKIP member complained the suspension contravenes his human rights. A student who claimed the NHS should not be free to immigrants and lamented about the Islamization of Britain has been kicked out of his university. Well, come on now. First of all, by immigrants, do you mean non-citizens? Because if somebody immigrated to the UK but became a citizen, well then they are entitled, aren't they? Canada has a lot of international students. They don't get a part of Canada's healthcare coverage. That's not how it works. They have to pay out of pocket for that shit. At the same time, there are immigrant families who come to Canada, work for a while, become citizens, and then they qualify. But that's because they've also worked. They've also paid into the system. It's not controversial to say that you shouldn't be able to just arrive in Britain and then have free shit handed to you. The 19-year-old student also branded halal meat barbaric and inhumane, and vowed to friends he would never eat at a Subway or KFC due to the way the animals are killed. From what I understand about halal slaughtering practices is that you have to let the animal bleed out, which does seem kind of barbaric and inhumane, doesn't it? There's no swift death there. The self-proclaimed free speech advocate complained being struck off from university was a violation of his human rights. And if you're banning somebody for their association with UKIP or any other political party or political position that doesn't actually advocate for violence against anybody, then yeah, it would be a violation of those human rights. We had a discussion about the privatization of the NHS, and I simply said I don't think free healthcare should be available to immigrants. This is a view held by many people in the public, and I believe I should be able to express them freely. I feel completely victimized. As he should. He didn't say, I don't think the NHS's healthcare should be available to people of a certain race, of a certain religion, simply of a certain citizenship status. And that's not racist. It's not Islamophobic. The university spokesperson said, "We are proud to host a campus community comprised of many cultures, faiths, nationalities, and beliefs. We value this rich diversity, and we take seriously this responsibility to provide a safe and welcoming environment for all. The university promotes lawful, open debate, the discussion of varying views, and academic freedom, and has in place robust procedures to ensure this can take place. In this case, a number of official complaints were made by students regarding a series of offensive and inappropriate comments made by Sebastian Walsh during lectures and seminars. We cannot divulge the actual comments made by Sebastian as they formed part of a confidential investigation. However, they clearly breached a number of the university's conduct regulations, including those relating to harassment and bringing the university into disrepute. In line with our official procedures, an investigation ensued, and a disciplinary hearing took place. The student has been temporarily suspended for the remainder of the academic year, and is aware that on the successful completion of a diversity training course, he will be able to resume his studies. It kind of sucks, but here's what I would recommend to Sebastian. 1, shut up, keep your head down, take the diversity training course, bullshit it, because you can just tell them what they want to hear, and you don't even have to believe it, they'll just let you back in, so you can get your life back on track. Maybe it kind of sucks, but I don't think anybody would blame you for doing it if you want to just get through your university and then get a fucking job, because the university is not the end-all, be-all of adult life. So if you just want to power through and leave this shit behind and then, keep your actual beliefs in check, you can do so. Alternatively, you could also fight them on this, and that would be a noble fight, in my opinion. And of course, there's also option 3. take the diversity training course and send me the info so I can make a video out of it. I've been compiling stuff from various viewers who attend universities and high schools all around the world, and they're sending me SJW bullshit. And at one point, I'm going to have to make a video of just how terrible the indoctrination is. Speaking of UK academia, going spare. Brexit could cut off access to feminist journal. Brexit copyright issues may prevent researchers from consulting Spare Rib, which for 2 decades served as the most popular voice of women's liberation in the UK. Yeah, this is it. This is why we have to stop Brexit. This is the reason. Nothing else matters. This is number 1 on the top of the list. A bad Brexit could cut off access to a crucial feminist scholarly resource. In 2015, the British Library digitized and made available to international researchers, students, and activists, through the JISC Journals program, a complete run of the pioneering British feminist magazine Spare Rib. This vital resource may now have to be closed down. Of all the perils looming with a possible no-deal Brexit, the unexpected effects on copyright laws may seem small fry. Yet Spare Rib was the most popular voice of women's liberation for over 20 years in the heyday of feminism, and we surely know the invaluable significance of keeping archival evidence of our recent history, especially for a record as fiercely contested as second-wave feminism. This is a non-issue. Nobody should fucking care about this. Frankly, the only reason why I even noticed this article is because the byline talked about Spare Rib as a crucial feminist scholarly resource. It reminded me of this older story from 2017, where a Ryerson instructor tells the student to only rely on feminist journals. On Twitter, my name is Josephine had a tweet, "I told my sister to write an essay on the wage gap for her class, and this is her professor's reply. First off, your premise is wrong. The wage gap is very real. So the reason why you are having a problem is because you will not find any sources that state that the wage gap is false. The way the wage gap works largely today is through the glass ceiling. Perhaps you want to write your paper on the glass ceiling. You need to look at feminist sources on this issue. Feminist sources. Certainly not business sources, because as she says later, do not use business sources. They blame women. The reality is patriarchy. There is a ton of feminist research on this topic. Let's be honest. I would say probably 80% of all the research and papers and books that have come out of gender studies since its inception is completely useless. It's all ideological. It has no basis in fact. I don't think it's 100 for a variety of reasons that are probably too in-depth to go into in this video. Maybe I'll make a video at some point on the minority of gender studies work that's actually decent. But in general, the entire department in every single university is an ideological nightmare that is propped up by diversity hires and diversity councils, and has a shit ton of the school's money flowing into it while creating nothing of actual substance. So when I hear that Britain is going to lose a crucial feminist scholarly resource, I'm not too worried, and I think you shouldn't be too worried either. Let's hop across the pond. With women in combat roles, a federal court rules male-only draft unconstitutional. I actually agree with this, frankly. I don't think there should be a draft at all. Maybe that's because I'm Canadian and there's no draft here. An all-male draft has been ruled unconstitutional by a federal judge in Texas, declaring that the time has passed for debating the role of women in the Army. The decision deals the biggest legal blow to the selective service system since the Supreme Court upheld the draft registration process in 1981. The court ruled then that a male-only draft was fully justified because women were ineligible for combat roles. But U.S. District Judge Gray Miller ruled late Friday that while historical restrictions on women serving in combat may have justified past discrimination, men and women are now equally able to fight. In 2015, the Pentagon lifted all restrictions for women on military service. And you know what? Fair enough. If there are going to be no restrictions between men and women in the military, then there should not be a male-only draft. Though to be fair, it's not a draft anymore, it's called the selective service system, which is basically where men sign up so that they're in a database, so that if there is going to be a potential draft, they're easy to get a hold of. And if you don't sign up for that selective service system, then you can't get student loans, and you can't work for the government, and there's a whole bunch of other things that you can't do. Which is kind of BS, frankly. So here's the question. Are they going to completely scrap the selective service system? Or are they going to make all women who hit 18 have to sign up for it in order to be eligible for federal employment or student loans or whatever, just like men are? In my opinion, they should just scrap it. But I have a feeling that they might want to keep it in place, which I have to say is going to be a fucking nightmare. Congress has never fully examined whether men are physically better able to serve than women. In fact, he noted in a footnote, the average woman could conceivably be better suited physically for some of today's combat positions than the average man, depending on which skills the position required. Combat roles no longer uniformly require sheer size or muscle. You know, I can kinda see where they're coming from. There would be some limited circumstances where being smaller or more flexible could be a greater asset than being stronger or faster. But that's because we're talking about gendered averages and not individual qualifications. This is why I've always disliked the concept of diversity hires, because what you should do is simply implement a standard. Don't make any mention of gender or race or anything else in the standard, and then let the chips fall where they may, as it pertains to individuals meeting that standard. If it means that in some jobs you have more men and some jobs you have more women, fine. It's more important that qualified people get into the right positions, and a qualified woman will get there on her own merits. But let's talk about an unqualified woman for a minute. How to play patriarchy chicken. Why I refuse to move out of the way for men. If you don't move out of the way for men, your commute changes. For one thing, I'm not going to lie about this, you do collide with a lot of men. Now, I've lived in larger cities before, and whether it's buses or subways or trains, you know, the stations and the vehicles themselves get quite crowded. And sometimes you do have to, slip between the cracks in a crowd. Just how it is. But this person has decided that she's simply just going to walk in a direct line from where she is to where she's going. And if there's a man in her way, that man's going to have to go around her. A few days ago, I was having a bad morning. My train tickets were expensive, my train was delayed, and my coffee was cold. But I cheered myself up by playing a game on my commute. The game is called Patriarchy Chicken, and the rules are simple. Do not move out of the way for men. How much of an asshole do you have to be to actually do this? Everybody on a commute moves out of the way of somebody at some point. Sometimes people move out of the way of you, sometimes you move out of the way of other people. Everybody is dancing around and slithering their way through the crowd. That's just how it is. And those few people who are, usually men, who don't move out of the way for anybody, they're assholes. It's not a patriarchy thing, it's a them being a dick thing. And most men aren't that. If you're a woman, you find yourself constantly dodging. No, if you're a person, you find yourself constantly dodging. Sidestepping men who are walking in your direction. Being wiped out by a wheelie suitcase dragged by a bee-suited man. Moving to the side to let faster men past you. Or just pausing to let men bustle in front of you onto the train, or into the lift, or onto the escalator, and on with their busy lives to their important jobs. You sound kind of bitter that your life isn't busy or important. If you don't move out of the way of men, your commute changes. For one thing, I'm not going to lie about this, you do collide with a lot of men. This is where the name of the game comes from. You need to really commit to Patriarchy Chicken. Don't let your social instinct to step to the side kick in. Men are going to walk into you. That isn't your fault. It sounds more like you're going to walk into men, and that would be your fault. The point of Patriarchy Chicken is not just that you get to where you're going marginally faster, although you do, or that you irritate a number of men, which you also do. The point is that men have been socialized for their entire lives to take up space. Men who would never express these thoughts out loud have nevertheless been brought up to believe that their right to occupy space takes precedent over anyone else's right to be there. They spread their legs on the tubes and trains, they bellow across coffee shops and guffaw in pubs, and they never ever give way. Men spread their legs because they have balls. The few men that bellow across coffee shops are assholes. And everyone who guffaws in a pub is having a good time, which is what they're there for. And if you actually think that all men, all 3.5 billion of us, never, ever give way, ever, you're fucking delusional. Women have not been socialized to take up space. Women have been socialized to give way, to alleviate, to conciliate, and to step to the side. This is so ingrained that we don't even think about it. We might stand up in meetings and make our point, even when we know a man will take the credit. We might dutifully delete the exclamation marks from our emails so as not to undermine ourselves, but we will still step to the side. This sounds like you have a self-confidence issue, which does tie in neatly to your earlier petty remarks about men having busy lives. I am an able-bodied 5'6" white woman. I move through this world with a lot of privilege. Well, okay. Maybe you should step to the side as an able-bodied 5'6" white woman, because at some point you're not going to step to the side. You're not going to step aside when it comes to the wrong person, and you will no longer be able-bodied. You will be run the fuck over. And let's be honest, the main reason you have the gall to actually try this is because you live in a Western country where most men are cognizant of the fact that they're larger than women, they're stronger than women, and that if they bump into a woman, the woman is much more likely to be seriously hurt than they are. So while there are a minority of assholes who will plow through a crowd, most of them will see you marching in a straight line and specifically try to avoid hurting you because they're actually decent people. If you were to do this in, say, a large city in the third world somewhere, you know, an actual patriarchal shithole, but a place that is at least advanced enough to have some kind of transit system, you will find yourself constantly being knocked to the ground because nobody will give a shit about you. The fact that you can play patriarchy chicken and not be seriously hurt constantly shows that you don't actually live in a patriarchy. Let's finish it off with "Stop shaming me for taking a photo with Tucker Carlson at a funeral." This is written by Christina Pereira. She's a sex worker who used to work at one of Nevada's legal brothels, and apparently legal brothel owner Dennis Hoff recently died, and both her and Tucker Carlson were at the funeral since they were both friends of this guy. "I woke up Saturday to a concerned text from my friend. I logged on to Twitter to see what fresh hell awaited me. And there it was, a tweet from Kate Arthur, the chief Los Angeles correspondent for BuzzFeed News, featuring a photo of me and Tucker Carlson that I had posted. Her tweet read, "Remember Tucker Carlson's lecture during the height of family separation in June about how the left doesn't care about family values? Well, I'm not one to kink shame, but here he is with a sex worker. Go Tucker?" And then it quotes Christina's two tweets saying, "Tuck, and hookers pass on cooties, it's true." And there's the two of them there. The Christina, our author Christina, and Tucker Carlson having a cute moment. In the photo, I'm playfully kissing him on the cheek as he turns away laughing. And that really is all that it seems to be. But let's examine this for a minute. The Federalist, is publishing an article by a sex worker defending sex workers. And Tucker Carlson, a high-profile conservative news anchor, is completely fine with posing publicly with a sex worker. Meanwhile, it's BuzzFeed that is shaming sex work, shaming sex workers, and shaming the men who lawfully, casually interact with them in a non-sexual setting. What the fuck has happened to us? What happened that this insane reversal has taken place? That the left are now the sexual prudes that want to censor everything, and the right are the free spirits. How did this happen? Like, look at Kate Arthur's tweet. "Well, I'm not one to kink shame, but here he is with a sex worker." See, everything that you say before the word "but" doesn't matter. You are one to kink shame. That is what your tweet is. It's kink shaming Tucker for not even anything kinky, just being friendly with a sex worker. Having an acquaintance who's a sex worker. That's something to report on. That's something to slander somebody with. And this is not from the religious right. BuzzFeed's not the religious right. Kate Arthur's not the religious right. This is from the social justice warriors. There was nothing scandalous or inappropriate about this moment with Carlson. It was a celebrity taking a few minutes out of his day to make a fan feel good. I approached Tucker and told him what a huge fan I was, and he was kind enough to say yes to a photo. It was nothing more and nothing less. When I offered to buy him a drink, he declined. He had a club soda instead. I sat with Tucker and Mitchell, and we shared stories about our late friend. We were 3 people from diverse backgrounds coming together to remember a man who touched all of our lives. I asked Mitchell if he would take a photo of Tucker and I. After taking the first silly one that Arthur irresponsibly grasped onto, we took a second normal photo, both smiling and facing the camera. And there you have it. This is the kind of thing that you would expect, like religious church-going moral busybodies to latch onto in order to try and get somebody fired from their jobs because, a detail of their sexual life has come out, even though it's not really that sexual. It looks bad, guys. It looks bad. But this isn't the religious right. The moral busybodies are coming from social justice. They're coming from the radical left. I hope this episode serves as a lesson to Arthur and her ilk, but I doubt it. She immediately blocked me when I attempted to explain the circumstances. We deserve better from journalists, and I am getting tired of one fake news hit piece after another. This is why people hate journalism now. This is why journalists are not trusted. It's not because of Trump screaming about fake news. It's because you guys act so reprehensibly, so horrifically disgusting that nobody wants to give you the benefit of the doubt anymore. Journalists today are so entitled, so egotistical. They are single-handedly destroying the Fourth Estate, and we're all worse off for it. We need a robust system of journalism, and these people aren't providing it. They're fucking raping it into the ground. Alright, my chums, that's the end of it for me. Thank you very much. I'll post links in the description to those alternate channels and those ways to support the channel if you do feel like partaking in any of those things I talked about at the start of the video. If you do, thank you very much for your support. And even if you don't, thanks for being here. There's no obligation to do any of the stuff that I outlined. Just being here and hanging out and watching the videos are enough. I truly do appreciate each and every single one of you. Alright, my friends, I will see you next time.